Hey guys, we are back. Um, Kurt, did we have a live stream last? I think we did, and I've been taking most of the week off. But the last live stream that we had, we were jumping into the modern controls, and I think a lot of people like these modern controls. They look nicer, and there's a few of them I'm really excited about. So I did want to mention one thing. So the last live stream, we were looking at the tab control, the modern tab control, and we were making a menu out of it. And it was working out very well. But there was an issue where whatever screen we were on, it wasn't selecting that item. And I believe that I found the solution. Or I should say, Elvis actually helped us out there, and he found something that works. So I'm in the progress of implementing that, and once I do, I'll show it to you guys. But for this session, we're just going to jump in and look at these other modern controls we haven't covered yet. So what I'm going to do is share my screen here. All right, and let me add a new screen. And we'll discuss the modern controls we haven't looked at just yet. So we go over here to insert, and so we looked at the progress bar, the length, the tab list. Now we haven't done anything with the badge as of yet. So let's go ahead and bring this over. Let me make sure that I've zoomed in enough, as I should be, right? And let me try to get rid of my bar there.
Just
All
want
right,
to
so
say
now
good
let's
morning
zoom.
to Rick and Ellie real quick before you get started. Say good
Oh
morning to
yeah,
what's going on,
good
guys.
morning, right? Yeah, so yeah, Rick says this is the last one for 2023. Yeah. And yeah, he says good morning. Yeah, it's good to have you guys here. And yeah, so here we have the badge control. Now, I don't know, Kurt, have you ever seen this badge control before? It just looks like it has two letters in a circle. What's up with that?
Right.
Does that seem a little weird?
Does.
You know where I've seen this? You know how you've got like an image of your profile photo. So if I brought over, let's
Mhm.
see, just an image. And I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, but I think the easiest way to show what people are normally used to, I'm going to bring over the header control. And we'll talk about this more. Maybe we'll talk about it next. I don't know. But if I zoom out a little bit, actually, I'm going to zoom back in, and I'm going to move over here to this. So this is the profile photo that I use for this tenant. Uh, so let's say somebody doesn't upload their profile photo. Well, a lot of times what happens is, and not necessarily inside of Power Apps, you probably get a like a generic profile photo. But in some cases, when they don't want to show a default profile photo, just a generic thing there, they'll have this badge, and it will show the first two letters of the person's name. Okay,
Yeah.
so and I'll put us down here so we don't cover anything up. Okay, and I think the main property here is this content
Mhm.
AB. Okay, well, what if I don't like AB? Can I do ZZ? Sure, but why would you do that, right? So what I'm going to contend that we should be putting the person's initials there. Now, how are we going to get at their initials? You got any ideas on that, Kurt? Like, you almost would expect, well, just grab the initials of the person's name, right?
That's
What
what
do
I
you
was
think, Kurt?
thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You just get the initials of the person's name.
Yeah. There is something weird going on with my audio, and I can barely hear anything. I'm going to try to figure this out just real quick.
Darren's remote for you guys.
Yeah. I'm
He's
up there visiting Kurt and some of my family up in Illinois. So just bear with me just one moment, because when Kurt talks or anybody talks, it's playing off a little bitty speaker. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Okay, say something now.
How about say something now?
Okay, keep talking, keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking that we could probably have that sitting in a table out there. If we're having a user table, we can have an add columns in that. There's so many ways we can handle that first and last initial. You know, you could deal with the split or you could deal with the left. I like my favorite functions are the left function. You know, where you can take the left of the first name and of the character, the left one character, and then the left one character of the last name. You know,
That sounds like an excellent idea, Kurt. That's probably perhaps the best way to find this out. Now, so let's do that. Now, there's another way. Well, let's do what you just said, and then we'll talk about perhaps maybe another way. So you're saying take the first character, the first name, the first character, the last name.
Yeah.
So how are we going to do that, Kurt? How do you do that in Power Apps?
Just use the left function, right?
Okay.
Of whatever name. Now, what is the table that we're working on? You gotta have to have some kind of a data source, right? Some kind of a text character.
Yeah. So let's say we just want their first and last initials in there, and we're not connected to a data source, so not relying on any like a database. What would you do here?
So you could use the user function, right, to get the current username, right?
Yeah.
Or you could just have a variable of two context variables and just put names in there if you wanted to do a test. But right now we've got there, you got your user dot. Now, do you have a user dot last name and user dot first name?
We have email, full name, intra object ID. That's actually a new property. For years, we've had email, full name, and image. So
we can use the full name and then do a split on that, right? And get look for. I guess we got to see how that full name is implemented. Is it with a space? Is it or?
Yeah, let's take a look at this here. And I want to make sure everybody can see the code really well. Okay, so you said split. Somebody used split here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a first. Now, what does the split function do?
So it's going to split at a character. Now, I don't know how. We got to look and see how that user full name is implemented. See if it's a space in there or if it's a comma. How are they using that? How if you got your user dot full name, how does it display it?
Let me add a simple label here, and let's see what it's going to give me. User full name. Okay. So we got Darren. So that's what it's given us. So if I go back over here, what are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, the space would be easy for now, but sometimes these names get tricky. Like if you've got like you got up there, we got somebody saying hi from the Netherlands. We got Jan J. van Groningen. I hope I didn't chop that up too bad. But now that would be an interesting full name to have to try to do a split on, right? So that's why I would like to have like a first and a last name type table situation in this or a comma. So, but for now, for today that we're doing here right here, if we're just using Darren Neese, we could just do a split on the space.
Okay. So a split would take maybe let's say a big long string, and there's multiple values in that string.
Yeah.
And you want to like turn that into an array or a table. And so that's what it's going to do here. It's going to split that. And every time it finds a space, it's going to split those things up. Now, if you look at by name, there's only one space in there. So we're going to get two items in like a collection with two strings. So if I select this, it says table. So it actually creates a table. Now this content property of the badge control, it's looking for a string, not a collection. So how are we going to fix this?
Right. So you got your split there, and it's putting that into an array, right, or a table.
Yeah.
So then what we would do is go in front of that. We're going to get the first.
Yeah.
do a first function on that, because if it's a table, we want to use the first record of that table, right?
That's right.
And you would have to probably put a dot value at the end of that split.
Look at that. Oh, look at what this little badge does. So it isn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be like a little rounded square. Oh, that's sort of cute. But how do we get at just the first letter?
So then we would do a left in front of the first.
Okay, let's do that. Left. And then I will, this keyboard doesn't have, oh my goodness gracious.
You want to try it?
Here, try it. Okay,
so we do a comma 1 after the value there, because we just want that one character. So what the left function is going to do is it's going to give us the leftmost characters, whatever we're using after that comma, that second parameter there. If we wanted 3 characters, it would say DAR there.
Okay, I'm going to try that. 3. Dar.
DAR. You got Dar. Dar.
Dar.
That's his pirate name. Darren in pirate would be Dar.
Kurt, I got a question for you, and I think you could answer this. So, what letter of the alphabet is the pirate's favorite?
R.
No, it's the C.
It's the C.
You get a C-A? Okay, no.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So if we just wanted the first 2 characters, like if we wanted this to be a square, DA, that look, well, I'd almost want to make that upper. So we're using all kinds of functions here today, guys, aren't we?
Yeah, but you only want 1 character there.
Yeah. So we'll just do 1.
And you probably want, and it's going to be upper already, probably, because it's first and last proper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now then you would do an ampersand after that, because you want to concatenate. Now, Jan has suggested that we use a concat, and I'm thinking that we could do that. However, I like to use the old-fashioned ampersand, which is the long form of concat, right?
Yeah.
So we do an ampersand, and you're going to cut and paste that whole thing right there that you just did.
And the ampersand?
Without the ampersand.
All right.
And then paste that thing right there. And then we're going to do the left first split user dot full name, but we want to do the last instead of first. We're going to replace that with last function, because remember, the split is creating a table. I like to say it's an array because it's only a one-dimensional table. But so we want the first record, and then we want the last record, because there's only going to be 2. Now, if we had Jan if we had his name in there, that would be, we could still use the first and last functions, and it would still probably work, wouldn't it? You know?
That's true, the first and last. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. So we got the square. This is exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can make the font bigger. Okay. So it looks like it's inheriting from the theme. Okay, that's sort of cool, but the font size. Let's change that to like maybe 20. Oh, that's not too bad. So if you wanted it to be bigger, you could really change that. All right, very good. Anything that I feel satisfied with this. Anything else that we should say about this code here that we're walking through?
Okay, so for people who are just kind of beginning in this thing, I know some people get hung up on all those nested functions. And I just want to say that, when you're looking at formulas, just remember that every formula returns a value, or every function returns a value. So, and you start from the inside out whenever you see these nested functions. So really what we're doing is we start at the beginning of this whole thing, and the computer is actually going to think it's going to go to the user.fullname first. It's going to take that. And then it's going to pass that back, and it's going to say, okay, that's Darren Neese with a space. And then the next function is going to take over, and that's going to be the split. And it's going to split that at the space, and it's going to put it's going to create a value, which is a table of the first and last names, 2 records in that table. And it's going to pass that to the last function.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last function is going to say, well, go to the last record of that 2-record table that was created in split. And it's going to take that and pass it over to the left function. So we got niece. Niece is going to go to the last function or left function. And the left function is going to take niece and it's going to say, okay, the second parameter is 1. So I just want one value, one character. So it's going to take that L and it's going to pass that to the ampersand.
Yeah.
And then you've got your whole right-hand side there. So that N is going to be passed in there. And that's how that works with that nest. It's like what it's just like somebody saying, hey, go get me the full name. And then it says, well, yeah, but and then the full name, the user.fullName function says, well, go give me the split of that. And then go get me the first of that. And then go get me the left of that split. So that's kind of how it works, it's kind of neat. But yeah. Now I have seen with this badge function, I have seen people use icons in that.
Mm-hmm. So you told me I could put like an emoji or something in here? Is that?
Well, I've actually seen people use like the save button and for the I'm pretty sure that I've seen that in the badge. They've done a save and a cancel and an add.
Look at that.
That's kind of neat, huh?
So you were saying something about a save icon?
Yeah, they've actually used the badge to use the icons because real estate is kind of small. So when you use these icons, they take the badge and they put that up there.
I like that.
Ellie says, "Rocket Man."
Rocket Man.
That's what we do on Saturday morning. We blast off. It's a blast on Saturday morning.
So Kurt, now that we've done that, I want to make this like a little segment that we talk about here. We spent, we probably spent, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes here just to talk about one little thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that sort of cool? Like bite-sized information like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially my channel, you guys look at my channel, it's like hour, 2, 3 hours. Nobody's got time for that. At least, maybe you make time, maybe you sit there for your lunch hour or maybe in an afternoon. But let's say you've only got 5 or 10 minutes, Kurt. Do you have any suggestions for people that they don't want the hours and hours? They just want like a little bite size. Yeah,
for people that, so you're saying for people that have a life, you want to have, right? So what we got a great, we try to cover all the bases here. We've got we've got an accelerator program that deals with a deep dive of everything, and we get into it, and then we've got these live streams that kind of just like talk about a topic for hours and hours. And you got two guys droning on and on about the old days and everything. And so then we've got this other thing called the pocket coaching. We've got a pocket coaching, personal pocket coaching, where we drop a video every day on a subject. And we don't mess around. We get right down to it. There isn't any kind of frills about it, So it kind of turns in. What I love about this is not only can you have a life, but you also have a great reference. You've got a great reference library building up because you get this every day. So after a year, you've got 365 videos that you can reference. And if you were slick about it and you could name it, you could save it, you would have a place where you could just go and where I seen that at, and you go and hit it. And right when you're in the middle of the code, how do I do this badge? How do I do this badge? And you would go over there and hit that badge and you'd see it all right there with no, we won't talk about it for 20, 30 minutes before we start doing it, Right. So I said all that to say some offerings like to talk about it, but the personal pocket coaching likes to be about it. How's that?
That's true. I like that.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you're not aware, I'm going to put the link so that if you guys are interested, you guys can check it out. I'm looking for it. I've got a really small monitor over here. Let me try this. Okay, so there at the top, if you type in that URL, Power Platform Community, on the tiny URL thing at the top of the screen, it's going to take you to this free community. Okay. And something I like to say is I offer my crash course for free now. I used to sell that for $27. And what people don't realize about this crash course, it covers the beginner level topics. And then the 10 things that I recommend that it took me about 6 months to learn all these little things. I just condensed it down where you could learn it in an afternoon. So that I think that's well worth the 27, but now it's free, so you can just get it over here for free. But then people like to do an app in a day. It's like this a popular thing. Well, I could build an app in a day, and you can. And I walk you through building a simple, clean, nice, functioning ticketing system. Okay, so this is all free, and we talk about implementing the 10 things that you learned here. We implement that in a new app. We start something from scratch. We use an example service desk application that Microsoft did, and we make it better. Okay, so that's all there. That's free. So just want to let you guys know the link's up there. You guys can get to that. But if you go back over to Classroom, the second thing here that Kurt was just talking about says daily bite-size Power Apps coaching delivered to your email box each and every day. Now, several of you have already signed up for this, but if you go in here, you'll notice there's all kinds. So you create a video and send it out every day of the month. I should have had the link handy for you guys. I'll have to go look for it somewhere to be able to purchase that, because you could just spend the right now it's $100. Well, it's $100 a month, but if you buy it before the beginning of the year, it's $50 a month. And then if you buy it the whole annual, you get an extra savings on that, and you get my Jumpstart kit, and you get my ticketing system. Now, that ticketing system in the past I've sold for $1,000, and the Jumpstart kit I sell for $250. So in the Pocketing Coach, you're going to get 365 bite-sized lessons. Or Kurt, what other types of things do we talk about? Like, what's it? So you have a
app, right? we do demonstrations of different functions and different capabilities of Power Apps, or maybe some new tricks that we might learn using coding. But sometimes we're going to talk about philosophical mindsets that you have to have when you're going in and looking at these functions. So it gives you more of a well-rounded. So in other words, we're not just teaching you how to look at functions, but we're actually teaching you how to think about it. Just like for instance, what we just did with that badge.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about functionality within that, but then we might want to talk about a mindset sometimes. So just a way of thinking about things, So to me, that's what separates the pros from the amateurs, is that mindset. And I think that's what I like to sprinkle in this. This is kind of like gives us a place where we can actually sprinkle both things and combine them at the same time, So
yeah,
it's kind of like it's it's just a different offering, right? It's just a different offering. Now, if you're an accelerator student, you were talking about, what do you get if you're an accelerator student and you're looking at this pocket coaching?
Okay, yeah. So by the way, guys, I just shared the link to this page, and it's got the payment links if you want the monthly plan or the annual. So right now, if you buy either of those before the new year, so you've got 2 days, you get a half off. Now, if you're an accelerator student, you get 75% off. Okay, so if I do the annual plan, it's going to bring up a little thing like this, and but you see, you get the Jumpstart kit, you get the full ticketing system, and you get a half-hour tutoring session with me, Kurt, which is pretty valuable. we actually sell our time. If you want both of us on the line for $250, you get 30 minutes. If you just want one of us, then you can get us a whole hour for the $250. But you get that included as a bonus if you sign up and invest in yourself, your Power Apps career. So I just want to let you guys know about this. What's the new and exciting thing that Kurt and I are doing here? We're just trying to think of all the different ways that we can provide value to you guys and come beside you and sort of take you by the hand and lead you into your Power Apps future and sort of be your Sherpa. What is a Sherpa, Kurt? I heard that somewhere and I looked it up and it was really interesting.
I think it's a guide, right? In shorthand, it's a guide, right?
Yeah, it is a guide. And I looked it up. It was like a guide in a certain area of the world that will guide you through all the mountains. I don't know if it's a Himalayan mountain. I don't. I'd have to look it up. It was a few years ago when I looked up a Sherpa. So we had these projects at FDOT. They says, "Oh, we'll assign you a Sherpa." Sort of like how we assign Rick as the Sherpa to our accelerator students.
And what a great
Um,
Sherpa he is too.
he is.
He's amazing.
He keeps in contact with everybody every week. He manages our onboarding sessions, and but anyhow, and I think I see him up there. Yeah, here's Rick. There he is.
And we also I just kind of wanted to shout out. We got Thomas is with us. He's an accelerator student. Ali, he's a future accelerator student. So I just want to say hi back to you guys.
Yeah. So somebody from Nigeria. Okay. How can I get an internship on the Power Platform? Opportunities are competitive. Yeah, because Power Platform adoption is still low but growing. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to say your name, and I do apologize ahead of time if I don't say it right. Kazim. So we have a friend and a colleague over in Nigeria actually, named Elvis, and sometimes you'll see him on here. So I would say, Kazim, go over to the link at the top of the screen, the Power Platform community, and interact with us. And it's a great place to ask questions, share screenshots, or share links to your Loom videos or whatever. And we can interact much more easily than a YouTube where you can't post screenshots or really talk very much at length in the comments, right? So Felipe asked, what's the cost of the accelerated program? It's our most expensive offering, but we don't reveal the price because unless you book a call with us and we talk about it, because it's individualized. So we don't know where you're at, we don't know what your goals are. So if you book a call with us, what we want to do is we want to learn all about you.
That's right.
Okay. And we don't accept just anybody in the accelerator program. What you'll notice in the people that are from the accelerator program that end up in the chat, that end up on the live streams, there's like a almost a culture. Would you say, Kurt? We're trying to build a little community. It's a smaller, tight knit community. I think we've got maybe 40 students somewhere around there, and we meet 4 times a week and all that. So what we want to do is talk with you first, make sure it's a good fit for both of us. What are you going to say, Kurt?
That's what I was going to say, because it might not be right. That's why it's really important to find out where you're at, what you're trying to do, where are your goals in this thing, because accelerator may not be the fit for you. There's other offerings that we have that might be a better fit for you, but definitely accelerator is the flagship. And accelerator is great. It is worth a time. So I guess I just want to encourage you to go ahead and book a call with Darren and I, and we can sit down and talk about it. Ellie says, my tribe, the accelerator. Yeah. Now we Darren and I both have that ADD element to us. So we get distracted and we digress. So I just kind of want to make sure that, because there's some accelerator students out here that don't know about the pocket coaching yet, I don't think, because this is brand new. We just started unleashing this about a week ago. So we've been talking about it for a few months now, and we finally are starting to get some stuff together and unleashing this thing. So the accelerators now, what is the offering for accelerator students? Because they're probably looking at it going, what?
Yeah, so offering for the accelerator students, if you guys are interested in the pocket coaching, is you get 75% off. For you accelerator students, if you go over to the accelerator community, you can see here, let's see, pocket, and what you'll find are I think it's actually in here. So if you go to that link, you see it's a completely different school community, and you'll see the links in there. Okay. And then what else was I going to say? So it was, Felipe. So if you want to know more about the accelerator, I've got a link at the top of the screen. It probably looks exactly like the same thing I had up there before, but the link has changed. You see, it says tinyurl.com. This is PowerAx Accelerator. That's going to take you to a page where where you just enter your information and then you book a call with us. And in some cases, we actually help people out because they're like, oh, yeah, I want to sign up for the accelerator, but I've just got this problem that's been bugging me. Well, what's the problem? Share your screen. Oh, like, yeah, you just need to do a split there instead of a cat, or you need to do a cat instead of a split. Or, a lot of times people, it's maybe simple to us, but I've had so many people that have booked a call with us to learn about the accelerator. They're like,
right.
What are you struggling with? Oh, is that what you're struggling with? Let's see if we can fix that for you real quick. And they're like, oh my goodness, I've been banging my head against the wall for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We
almost always fix something when we're on these accelerator calls, don't we?
Yeah.
Almost always.
Absolutely. I think Ellie got into the accelerator. I think she was in our live stream one week, and she goes, I found my tribe. And what she did, she is a part of the tribe. So I'm training a small army of Power Apps special forces.
Now the question is, Ellie, you say you think you found your tribe, but maybe your tribe found you.
Yeah. Okay, so those links to that. Just want to make sure everybody has that. But so not only do we have, like, let's say, a distinct function that was from yesterday. Kurt, you actually created this video for the distinct function, and you had quite a bit to say about it. But it's bite size. It's just 5 minutes. I love these because it's so different than my normal format. Where I mean, even my patch function I have here on my YouTube channel is probably one of my most popular videos. I think I spent 30 minutes, but I could create a pocket coach. Just
Yeah, and for the accelerator students, I actually give a cheat code for the animation ball because people are just having all kinds of problems with this animation.
Really?
Isn't that great?
Oh, you got some chapters in here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let me see here. What all do you teach in here, Kurt? Oh, you got a bouncing ball? Oh, okay, that's interesting. So, guys, for those of you who aren't in the accelerator, we've got tons of videos, so much more stuff you guys have never seen here on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
One of which is, I might say, I got to watch Kurt when I'm saying this because his head gets too big. I'm going to stop talking. But
Macy's balloon head.
This practical exercise. This was the main reason I told Kurt, man, you've got to join me. And I wanted to hire him to do all this training that he did when he taught me programming back in the day. When I say back in the day, it's like 25 years ago, right? So look at this. He's got Lab 1, formula bar function. So you start with the basics, you know?
Yeah.
And then you go into all these functions. You talk about random stuff. I mean, this is the most basic stuff. So if you know nothing, you can go into this and you will start to use and learn these things. You got animation, color. You got a Lab 3 down here where you're talking about collections. And in fact, you've got so much content, I can't even keep up with my video editing. So Kurt, while I'm up here in Illinois visiting, I want to make sure that you get a few more video editing skills that I can show you.
Right.
So you can help with all the video editing.
This was his ulterior motive to coming up here to Illinois. Oh, Kurt, it's Christmas. Look at me and everything. And then it's really, I need to train him how to do Camtasia because I'm getting overwhelmed with all the videos that he's throwing at me. But it's really cool. So like this collection, we're doing charts. We're talking about chart controls and how to do charts, not Power BI charts, but Power App charts. Because I feel like reporting is something that is very, it's very understated when it comes to the Power App creation because everything's all about the interface and the data entry. But really, reporting has got to be the end goal of every app. And so charts, I think, are just as important as galleries. And
okay.
So we're talking about that kind of stuff, and then collections. We are doing some crazy hoops. We're jumping through hoops like you wouldn't believe in collections, so I think I've got like 9 videos on collections that deal with different hoops that we jump through. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm excited too, man.
Yeah.
And this is what's crazy, guys. Kurt, when he creates these labs, he digs down deep and he does research. Like how much depth can we get into these basics?
Yep.
Guys, he's teaching me stuff about collections that I did not know. So just, I'm telling you guys, this stuff is nowhere else. I've never heard it. I've never seen it out on the net. And it's really interesting. So Kurt, you told me you have 3-dimensional arrays, right? Is that how you phrased it?
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm like, Kurt, what are you talking about 3-dimensional? Are you just making up words now or what? And no, he showed me. I'm like, dude. And what I think I had to go buy you a pizza or something, man. I'm like, dude.
My head's getting bigger. Look at, I'm trying to make my head bigger here.
All right. I'm no longer talking about that now. Now his head's that big.
That's funny. Isn't
Now,
it?
what I was thinking about if we go back to the badge control, if I wanted a more reliable, because sometimes people have a lot of like maybe middle names or hyphens, I guess this would still work. What I was thinking about was using the Office 365 users, and you can get at the surname and principal name, which I believe is the first and last name. So just realize you could do that, but I like this thing here. You know what we could do, Kurt? We could actually make this into a formula and put it into the app.formula, because this would all be the same. I wouldn't need any parameters, but I sort of want to touch on some of these other properties of the badge control, because we really haven't gone too much. But I just wanted to stop there. We had a little bite-sized thing, and it reminded me of the personal pocket coaching that we offer. Were you about to say something?
No, I was just agreeing. Also, I guess if you wanted to, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this name right, but I'm going to say Hargay Patel. As Darren, would you mind trying concat split user full name left result 1?
Ooh, okay.
Maybe we could comment that out and put that in there just to see if it'll work.
Yeah, let's do that. We're all about learning and trying new things. Sometimes if you just do it the same way every time, you may not learn anything new, Yeah. And I'm glad that Kurt learned how to do so you're effectively doing joins with collections. When you said 3-dimensional, I'm like, what? Yeah, you're effectively doing a join. And you can do joins and power-ups, but Kurt figured out how to do it.
Yeah. So, and we're going to, not only can we do a 3-dimensional array, which is effectively a join, but also we're going to we're going to make that thing so it's not normalized, so that you can actually see it as a joined table like you would in SQL Server or something,
Yeah. And I think he's got a space in there. Okay. Comma, left, result. Okay. It's not giving me IntelliSense for that. If I say 1. Okay.
I think instead of result, it would be value, right?
Okay. Try that.
There you go.
What?
There it is.
What is going on here, guys?
So it's concatenating them back. So the concat actually does the opposite of split, right? Where it's going to take that table, split puts it into a table, and concat does the reverse of that and splices them together. There's more than one way you can do this thing, and definitely the concat. And I think I talked about concat earlier, but I like this is a shorthand of what we did. Really, it's doing the same thing.
I like it. I like it better than bytecode. You know why? It's shorter, it's more concise, and dare I say, more efficient.
However, I don't know if it's more efficient, but it's because it's essentially doing the same thing that we're doing. It's just doing it it's doing it underneath all the stuff, So, it just depends on how you like it. I guess I like to have the control over with my left function because I can determine how many characters I want in there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could do the same thing with the concat as far as 1 or 2, but yeah, I like it. I like both of them.
This is cool. I have a question for you, or I have a request for you guys.
If you're getting anything helpful out of this, a comment or even a like really helps the channel, and lets people like you know this is good content. Much appreciated.
Very nice. Yeah, but thanks for that. Thanks for that that question. That's a I love it when we can see more than one way of doing something, you know. It's
Absolutely.
it's very cool.
Okay, so Kurt, we have an appearance property. We got tent, filled, go. So I'm going to start at the beginning here. Filled. Oh, that's cool. Have you guys ever had like a gallery and you got all these users or customers or something, and you like to show pictures of people, but let's say 90% of your people don't have a photo, you know? So, but you want to have something in there to give it more color, to make the gallery more interesting. Instead of the photo, you could use this. You know, maybe if they have a photo, you'd have an image that would pop up on top of it. And if they don't have a photo, the image would be invisible, revealing the badge. So that's something I'm already thinking about using this thing. This is a really cool thing.
That's kind of neat.
Ghost. Ooh, okay. That makes me feel like, well, I would probably just use a label instead if I was going to do ghost, because it just looks like text at this point, right? What about an outline? Okay, it's a little subtle. I think I like tent probably the best, you know.
Mhm.
All right, what else do we have for this control?
Yeah.
Danger.
I like that. Yeah. So I kind of like I like that because you can have different states or statuses. I guess would be the word. Where's Jeff at when we need him?
He quit on us, man.
Yeah, the status of a situation, you know.
I do like that. Yeah. So, Kurt, remember back in the day we had a MSGBOX message box at VB6, and
Yeah.
so you could have something based on something maybe dynamic,
Yeah.
you know, that you want to display, maybe in a pop-up or something. And let's say it was danger. Yeah, expected to be in red, but you know, if you're going to do that, you probably do filled. There we go.
See, I love the way they enumerate things, but like I'm glad you brought up the message box because you had constants that you could combine and you could actually do math to create the different constant levels. So, you know, you had three different constants that defined what label was the message box, right? And what, you know, like what kind of an icon was it, you know, just different types of deals. It'd be nice if PowerApps gave us that same capability, you know.
You never know.
Just shout out to the wizards who are developing this thing. We'd like to have that.
You know what we have to do, guys? I encourage everybody to do this. If you're looking at a modern control here, oh, maybe they took it out. Remember last week we had a thumbs up and a thumbs down, and you could say thumbs up and thumbs down based on, you know, if you like. And then after you vote, it would say, okay, give us more feedback, and you have a place to type. So I'm not sure why that isn't there anymore.
Well, they didn't want to hear anymore.
They got enough feedback.
They said, you guys just broke us.
Yeah. So we got a shape. We got rounded, square, circular. Okay. And we got the palette color, the font color. So this is going to be probably there for a lot of these controls where you can tie into the theme that you pick. Now, right now, okay, here it says, how do you like these themes? So that's what I was talking about there.
Yeah.
Make sure we're still at least to 150 here.
Okay, one moment.
What's that?
Be right back.
Okay. Yeah, no problems. In fact, while we're here, I'm just going to move this over to a different color that I like a little better. Let's go with green. That's what I like, green. And okay, so Ellie, the thumbs up and down is still there. So I see it over here, and that's what I'm used to, but I don't see it over here. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe we'll see it in the other controls. Let's see if there's any other properties here. Visible, position, size. So I really don't see a lot of new type of things that are at least specific to this badge control. Let's go over to advanced and see if we see anything interesting here. These are a lot of the same things. Okay. We do have display mode like we would have for any control. Like if you want it disabled or something. I can't imagine you'd really use that for anything, but you never know. sometimes when you're trying to think of a workaround, something's not working the way that you want it to, that sometimes a workaround, using a property maybe in a way that wasn't in a way that it wasn't designed for. But for example, if you have, if I wanted somebody to click on this label here, you see how it changes to text, and you might want like a pointer, and maybe if they click on this, it would be a link, and maybe we made it blue and made it had an underline. Well, we might want the cursor to turn to a hand. So what you do is you could either put a button or an icon. I use an icon for that case. And I mean, the icon isn't meant for that, but you can sort of use it as a workaround, you know? All right, so let's look at, I think that's pretty much it for that. Now, if we look at the modern controls, I've been working from top to bottom. However, what I did pull on the screen is this header. So I sort of want to cover this header control here. All right, and I'll get rid of that. Back. So the header control, it seems to me it's got three elements. Okay, like an image that can be a logo. Okay, so if we got the header control selected, and we got primary, neutral. Okay, so it sort of changes, um, what color, not what color, but sort of extends the theme because we're already in green. Okay, so the theme has been selected. But just like we were looking at for this, I picked light for this. So if you want to keep with that, I think for a header, I typically go with a dark color, but it doesn't have to be dark. Okay. And then you got the user's, picture profile right up there. Okay. And if you guys don't know what that is from, it's a movie called Kill Bill. Now, I don't think Kill Bill is a G-rated or PG-13. And there's a. I'm not trying to endorse the movie, but I'm just trying to tell you the context in which that photo comes from. But those are the three things, okay? And then the text, you might want that to be just what it has there, which is the name of the screen. So that's sort of cool. Now, in the Jumpstart kit, not only do I do these three things, but I also put the user's name and their email address, and I've got a place for the application name. So I like to have the application name at the top. And then the icon, I can probably customize it more than what they're allowing here. But it looks to me that this is, yeah, you can add an image. Make the whole thing, okay, you can make the image visible, the logo image visible or invisible. Okay, that's interesting. And I can hit Control-0. See that little photo up there? I can turn that off and it can disappear. Okay. What about the title? Okay, so I like how they did that. They got three elements, and all three of them you can make it either visible or invisible. Okay. Let's see what Ellie has to say about this. I like my header component. I built better than this feature. Exactly. That's how I feel too. But Kurt, I mean, the first time you saw this, I was on the line with you, and you seem to really like this header control. Are you using this header control and not mine?
So
choose your words wisely.
So what I like about this header control, is that you can use it for a lot of different things. So in other words, it's not just, instead of putting a rectangle together or something like that and piecing everything together and without having to create a component, we just have this control sitting out there that I can put and use it for a lot of other different stuff,
Yeah. Where I would use this header control is if I had to take on a project that was already started and I didn't have the chance to start with my Jumpstart kit.
Right.
Instead of recreating it or trying to import all that stuff.
I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of what I wanted to say, but I didn't want you to think that I would ever think about using a project. The first thing I would have to do is when I walked in and I said, "Hey, is this project already started?" Yes. Okay, well, we're starting over because I got to use this Jumpstart kit. That's what I would say.
So this is a good case in point, Kurt. Didn't we just land a new consulting gig just this week with somebody from Fiverr
Yeah.
who has a project that's already begun?
Yeah.
In fact, I've done so much business with a guy probably over the last 2 years. He's a repeat customer, great guy to work with. Um, and he just like, I don't know, every few months he comes back like, hey, I started this, and he'll put all the controls exactly where he wants them. And he'll have like a grid of columns and rows. And like, hey, all right, make this work. Put the code behind the button, and I'm like, oh man, why didn't you use a gallery? But and I could rip it all out and put a gallery there, but he likes exactly what he put there. So whenever a client asks me to do work, I pay a lot of attention to exactly what they say and what they're not saying. They don't say, hey, this is what I like it to look like. Go ahead and recreate it and make it really awesome. Okay, well, I'm using my Jumpstart kit. I'm using galleries where they need to be used. But and Ellie's laughing. So good news for you, Ellie, and you accelerator students, because Kurt and I, this next week coming up, there's going to be a session with Kurt and I are going to be doing the whole freelance job with you, either on the line or we're going to create a video and then put it up there for you guys. So you can see what a real freelance gig that comes in would look like, and how we go about doing a job like that. Because I know a lot of you guys want to be freelancers and do Power Apps work. And I mean, even if you're just looking for just a job, you're not looking for freelance, you're just looking for a job, well, that would be helpful as well. So there's some things that I don't feel comfortable with sharing with the whole world on a live stream. There's no sensitive data that's being displayed, but the company name would be up there, and everybody in the accelerator program. It's sort of, this might sound weird, but it's actually a really good thing. All of our accelerator students sign an NDA, or a non-disclosure agreement, and the reason for that is so that everyone feels safe sharing details about their projects or any ideas they have for apps. You know what I mean? So if I'm an accelerator student, I'm like, I've got this great idea for an app and I'm going to sell it. And it's like this next level, maybe it uses AI and does all this cool stuff. And we don't want another student like, oh, that's a good idea. I think I'll do the same thing. And now they're competitors. You know what I mean? So so it protects you there. It protects against sharing screenshots outside the group. So everybody's legally bound. Whatever is said or shown inside the accelerator program stays in there. So I think it's a really positive thing that we do that. Yeah, and then Rick says, cool to watch you do that. Awesome. Fantastic. Now, something I was going to say about this header control, Kurt, did you notice this? On, what's up with these properties that start with on?
Yeah, they're really, in my world, they're really events.
Yeah. Yeah, if you come from an object-oriented background, you've got, what are the three things? You got properties, which of course you're very familiar with properties in Power Apps. So you guys are already starting with object-oriented type of stuff. Properties, events. So any property you see in Power Apps, it says on select, on change, on check, on uncheck. All that stuff starts with on. That is a place where it's called imperative, rather than if I just go over here, let's say the logo, and I could put an image, that would be declarative, right? So whenever you see on, so you can have either in Power Apps, either imperative or declarative. And if you get to imperative, it means that like a button click event. You want it to do something, and that's the code block where you can have semicolons to separate different lines of code. Rather than a logo, it's expecting an image of some sort, So hopefully this is clear as mud. But so you can put code here if they select the logo. Okay. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to test this out. Let's see what it does. Notify, which is my favorite little thing to test things with. And I'm going to, don't laugh at me, Kurt.
Okay.
Hey, that tickles.
Oh boy.
Click. Hey, that tickles. All right, maybe it wasn't as funny as I thought. But it shows that you can put you put code in there. Okay, this talks about the colors and yeah. So I think that's pretty much, oh, the username. Well, we could tie into the Office 365 users and override the user function .first. We could put maybe their, well, this is interesting. So username. Well, where is the username shown? So it's asking, okay, user image, okay, the username. Now, does that mean if I hover over this, it's going to show me my name? Look at that. It does. So if we want something else to be displayed there, or we can add to it. Yeah, think about this, guys. So if we go back in here for the username, well, we could use the ampersand to concat some more strings. We put their name and their email address, you know. So this is a cool little thing that might come in handy if you don't have a more complex header control to use instead. Any more additional thoughts on that, Kurt, for this control before we move on, or anybody in the comments?
What about the left side of that with the screen where it's got screen 4 at where you got an image in that? Is there any other uses that we can do with that?
Any more what?
Are there any uses we can do with that? Can we explore that a little bit? That's the logo, right?
Yeah. So if we're going to look at, the logo, well, down here, it's got the logo. So we can pick a different image. Okay. And if you go over to multimedia, if you upload some images here, they're going to show up in this little drop down. Okay. And we can make it invisible. We talked about that. Now the tooltip, if you look at this, if I hover over it, the logo image. So you could change that.
Yep. Okay.
Now something I was thinking about you might want to change. Maybe you don't want the app.activescreen.name. Maybe you want the name of your application, or both. The application name with a concat or a little ampersand, and then the screen name. That would sort of be cool.
It would be cool. It'd also be nice if they put like a title. If you're going to do the header, they should have a title thing in the center of that too, right? If they wanted to, an optional thing, you know?
Oh, to make it like in the middle?
Yeah.
So what you mean? Okay. Yeah, that's sort of strange. Now look at this, Ellie and Kurt and everybody. There's no up and thumbs down for me. Now Ellie said it did appear for her. So that's interesting that it's not showing up there.
Maybe they've heard enough from you already. No,
that's right. I've actually used it 2 or 3 times now. All right. How can we use third abbreviated name instead of the header image? Ooh, okay. A third abbreviated name. So, Kazim, do you mean like a third abbreviated name instead of the header image? I would imagine. Well, you tell me if this is what you mean, Kazim. But like, if you have a third, like if you wanted somebody's middle name in there or something, you could do that. Have 3 letters, and then what you could do is put this up here.
Superimpose that.
There you go.
Or, okay, yeah, instead of the header image, yeah.
And you said T3 dimension. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means, Kurt?
3-dimensional. I'm not sure.
Now, if I lowered I'm trying to make this, like if I was actually going to do this, it doesn't quite look right to me. So if I made that maybe 30, okay, so it's a little smaller. I want it to look normal, maybe I got to make it, sort of play with the size a little bit here. But you want a little bit of padding. So it's almost there. If you play with it a little bit, 3-dimension. I don't know what exactly you mean by third dimension. Now I know what 3D is and 3-dimensional. You got length, height, depth, right? But what does that have to do with the header or this badge control? I'm not sure. If you want a three-dimensional image, yeah, make it a three-dimensional image, a PNG, JPEG, SVG, upload it, and set the header logo to be that image. Could do that. So if that didn't answer your question, I probably need a little bit more clarification. Or if somebody realizes it and I don't, feel free to explain it to me. So, all right, we've covered these two.
Okay, you said you did what you mean, and Ellie thinks that maybe you don't have that up and down thing because you already voted on it. That makes sense.
Really?
That makes sense.
It does.
Right.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they don't want to keep bothering you with it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's try the new modern checkbox. Okay. I sort of like it better than the clunky classic one, to be honest. What do
Right.
you think, Kurt?
I like all of them. All of these are just less clunky. That's what I like about all of these. Right. You just said it. It's less
It's a
clunky.
little more chic, you know?
Chic.
Yeah.
Bouger.
Hold on. Alt. Oh, look at that.
Ah,
That looks cool.
what?
I hate this little border it goes around here. Okay. And this thing is just elegant.
It used the theme color too.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of smooth.
Now, let's say I wanted this to be bigger. Okay, check. So on like the toggle and a check, usually there was like a value. You remember that? We had a value, but now it's checked.
Check
got the
is
label there.
Value now, right?
What's that?
It is the value now, isn't it? So the value would be dot checked, right? Could you say like if dot checked?
Yeah, because you see here it's Boolean.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of dot value,
It's dot checked.
yeah. So I want to bring in back.
I like
bring
that.
my checkbox. Oh my goodness! Don't show me that again. You notice we have a chat bot control here. We'll have to explore that control as well. Okay. Over here, we've got default. And if you want to get out, so that's going to be the default value. But if you want it to be, if you want to read the value, it's going to be dot value for this checkbox.
Yeah.
For this, well, I don't, maybe I should try this out. Let's bring over a label. Okay. Put this label here, and I'll copy and paste it, and I'll put one here. So I'll grab this checkbox canvas, and over here, I'm going to say that, let me say dot value. Nope. It's checked. Okay. Now over here, this is checkbox 2. And then for this, I'm going to say checkbox 2 dot value. Save, I'm going to run. If I uncheck this, it should be false, and it is. Okay. Over here, I'm going to say true, false. So you see the difference of how you have to handle these two. You'd almost think, well, this is Power Apps. The two different types of checkbox. They should, behave the same, but they sort of don't.
I like the renaming of the property that instead of the dot value, because see the Power Apps tends to use that dot value everywhere where there's going to be like any kind of an array of choices or of stuff. And I like the fact that they've got a true false sitting over there and it's checked. So when you're thinking about it, you're not going to sit there and say, well, dot value, because dot value is used in drop downs and used in lots of different places, right? We just did it in the split even. But checked, dot checked. I like that. I like that name.
So Alex says, do y'all have videos on creating a custom solution, a table flow app, and populating it across multiple environments? Actually, we do have some content that we've covered in the accelerator program, and we're building on that just based on the needs and the desires of the accelerator students. We work with accelerator students where they're at, and they can put topics that they would like to have covered as a priority. So that becomes a top priority for me and Kurt. If somebody in the accelerator needs something, that pretty much drives the content that we create. So we do have that. Now, just as a side note, Alec, if you look at my channel, there is a, I'll go over here and sort of find it. if you go to, of course, you're already on YouTube right now, right? If you go to YouTube and type in Darren Neese and look for my onboarding app, and let's see what comes up here. Okay, so you got something that looks like this, and it's a series where I go into a lot of stuff that spans different environments, different tenants, different organizations. Like if you want to create a software as a service, I've gone into a lot of that. Of course, I've got ads there. But if you look, we have got, at least I thought I had it here, a whole playlist. So if you go to my channel, go to playlists, you'll see here, it says the first image of this is use a big boy database. So we're using SQL Server. Okay. So if I go in here, here's the link to the whole playlist. And we got several things. So when we're done with the modern control, we're probably going to go back to this app because it's working. I'm going to paste the link to this playlist in the chat here for you. Okay. So definitely check that out. And if you're interested in the accelerator, let me make sure you got a link to that. That is at the top of the screen now, if you want to know more about that. And every once in a while, I'll release something that we're doing in the accelerator in the YouTube channel. But I'd say most of us, 95% is in the accelerator and isn't shared, to the world there. This is a great question by Kendall here. Do you think they're going to remove the classic controls in the future? So we talked about this last week. I honestly don't believe that they will, okay? Because they have some classic controls that there isn't a modern control for, okay? And also think about how long Power Apps has been out. I think Power Apps came out in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been around for 6 years. How many apps out there are in the wild? They might give you a way to sort of remove the classic controls, but I think there's going to be support in there for them. I mean, think of just even the templates. The templates that Microsoft gives you, they're all using the classic controls, unless they created it for Power Apps for Teams. And I think that's where the modern controls came from. You started seeing the modern controls over there in Power Apps for Teams. So I honestly don't believe that they will be taking them away. Now, they are wanting to take away the classic theming that goes along with the classic controls. And if you want to hear me talk more about that, check out the last week's live stream. And we actually talk about all that in length because, to be honest, that's a very natural question to come up when you're looking at these modern controls.
That would be a very terrible precedent for them to start doing that, like removing controls like that. Functionality, you think about that. There's a lot of functionality that would be removed by removing those controls, and people would be scared to develop anything in the future, right? So I don't see that. I see a whole new platform coming up before they do that.
Yeah. Now, Felipe, we did cover this last week, but just because it won't take much time for me to show you again here. So if you go into settings for a project, okay, that's up here on the toolbar, go to settings, you'll scroll down, modern controls and themes. So when you bring in modern controls, you're bringing in modern themes. And with the classic controls, you got the classic controls and you've got classic theming. So the classic theming is on its way out, okay? Because if you go down here to upcoming features and you got preview, experimental, and retired. If anything's under retired, it's on its way out. How soon will it be on its way out? It might be a year or two. You never know. It might be next week. A lot of times they don't give us dates. But if I go in here and say modern, keep classic themes. They're being retired as new modern controls and themes become available. Okay. When modern themes are turned on, choosing this option keeps classic themes available in your toolbar. Now, I never really liked the classic theming like at all, but there's one thing I like to. I covered it in the last Saturday, where I always like to pick the gray theme. I think they called it light, I think is the name of it, because if you have let's say we went with a green theme, and you bring over a button. Look, it's blue. Oh, so what you'd want to do here, if you guys don't mind me being sidetracked for a few minutes, if I say modern, I'll turn on classic themes, click close. And what I want to do whenever you start a new project, let's see here. We've got where is the themes? I just turned it on, right? It should be up here. Maybe if I zoom out of the browser, it will show it. Yeah, theme. There's the classic theming. Go with light, because there's, I guess I should say, 3 colors that go with any theme: black, white, and shades of gray. So I go with the light. So if I do bring over a new control and it's gray like that, it doesn't clash that bad. And I'm not even sure if this is a pure gray, to be honest. So if I click on this, and that's what sort of bothers me even with that class. If I go into it's fill, okay, a shade of a gray would have the same number for RGB, red, green, and blue. Yeah. And then this fourth one is an opacity. So these numbers should be pure. But this is probably, if you're just going to pick a classic theme, that's the least of the evil of the other themes, because they would clash. I mean, even if I were to go in here and say, oh, well, I'm going with the green theme with the modern themes, so let's go in here and let's go find a green theme. Well, there's forest and there's aqua. Let's go down here. Okay, here's a green one. Okay. It's still not the same green. Now, some people might care. I care. Also, guess what it did? It took away my rounded corners. So every button I add, if I'm using this classic green theme, I got to go in here and change the radius. Okay. It's annoying. So anyway. Very good. These are good questions, guys. I'm going to say, yeah, Ravi. Is the new combo box accepting more than 800 items? How to handle more than 5K items in combo box? Well, what I would say is you don't want to have that many items in a combo box, list box, drop-down list, gallery. What other? There's a new table control that we're going to look at hopefully soon. You really don't want to have too many items. And what you want to do is you want to cut those down. I had an accelerator student that says, hey, I've got a list of all the counties in the United States and a listing of all the states. And the amount of counties is over 2,000. How do I handle that? Well, you make the user pick a state first, and then you filter the counties down by the state, and it brings it much more in a manageable spot, you know. But to answer your question, does the new combo box accept more than 800 items? I don't know that. I haven't looked into that yet. So I don't know. Don't know.
Right. I just wonder how many duplicate items. Of course, I don't know the use case that you're looking at with that, but like you say, Darren, 800 items is a lot. It's too much, I think. It'd be good to filter that out of that, or use something different than a combo box, maybe.
Yeah, you're going to slow down your application. You're going to be loading 800 or more than 800 items in there, and you're doing that other places. I would imagine your app would be a little sluggish there. Alex says, I found my question through your onboarding videos. So it's funny you mentioned that. When I'm in a standalone video, but I can see how that's an accelerator program question. And I'm trying to remember what it was that he was asking, creating a custom solution table for those apps. Yeah. And a lot of times if it's really specific, questions I like to answer on the live stream and in the YouTube channel, I want it to almost apply to anybody. Or if it's really specific, and we do sell one-off tutoring sessions. It's $250 an hour. But so if you're looking for that route, you could book that, and we could look into that with you But I'm going to tell you the best value for your money would be the accelerator, because we commit to you for months and make sure that you either get to or become what you're wanting to go to or become, like a freelancer. I want to be a freelancer. Okay, well, we're going to make sure you get there and that you're proficient and everything. So that might be one part of the puzzle that you need to figure out in order to go where you're trying to go with Power Apps. So very good. I appreciate you guys' engagement here in the comments. All right, so we got this checkbox. Do we have any properties that we need to look at here that may not be obvious? Let's go over to advanced. Okay, and I always like to see what what property or event properties we have. And we got three. We got on check, on select, and on uncheck. And I believe those are the three that we had with the classic one, and that's true. Yeah. Very good. So now I'm gonna take out these two classic ones, and I'll put this to the side here. What else do we have to look at? Combo box. Very good. Now, this isn't going to be, so it's got a few items here. Now, Kurt, something that you said when I think we made this for the personal pocket coaching. So, guys, we actually go a little bit more in depth on each of these controls in the personal pocket coaching. But Kurt, I remember one thing that you said in I'm going to call it PPC, personal pocket coaching sessions, is that you liked it. Just seemed much more elegant than if you were to look at, let's say, the classic drop down. I think the combo box is the same. I mean, take a look at these side by side. Okay. You notice how like it sort of flickers and does some weird stuff. You pointed out like, oh, I don't like that. I never really gave it much thought, but you're right. I mean, we've got all kinds of things going on here, you know?
Yeah, the rendering is awful. Yeah.
Yeah. This is just much more simple, and I know I say it a lot, elegant. The button controls are elegant. I like it. It's going to make your app look better.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I do like that. What other things could we talk about? Well, let's hook this up to some.
It makes your app look less like a Power App.
Yeah. What's funny is that's what I always try to do. That's what my Jumpstart kit does. It doesn't even hardly look like a Power Apps application. So when you change a data source, of course, it's going to have different columns. So yeah, you're going to change the columns that it's looking at. So now this was a drop-down list, but the modern control that we're looking at right here is a combo box, which is not to be confused with a drop-down. They sort of look the same, but a combo box has a little bit more, has a lot more features to it. Okay, like you can search in it. Typically, you can type stuff in here. Look at that. So there's there's all these items here. So I could type 1 0. Is there a 1 1? Yeah, there's a 1 1. That's pretty fast. 2 2 2 0.
Well, you're operating out of a collection probably too, or an in-memory table anyway.
Well, it's looking at Dataverse.
Oh, okay.
I got a table up there called car data.
Got it.
Now let's go look at now with Dataverse, you do have views. They're not quite the same thing as a view in SQL Server, but I'm going to say active. That's probably the default one, active car data. So if you have any inactive cars, they won't show up. I think I'm just going to keep it as none for now. You got fields. Okay. So it's showing us the name, and they're putting numeric values in the name. Okay. Well, let's look at the make, the model. Let's see how it handles that. This should be interesting. Still just showing us the numbers. Now, why is it? So this is, if you remember from last week, we're dealing with the tab control, and we could add a bunch of fields here. Which one is it going to show? Well, let's put make and model at the top and run it. Is it just going to use the first one? Yeah, it looks like it. Audi. There's a lot of Audis. So that's something to keep in mind there, right? So I might take all this stuff out because it's like, why would I bring over these fields if I'm not even going to be able to use them? And I sort of like to have the model in there. Now, if that table was designed the way that I like to design it, I wouldn't put numeric information in the name. I would put the year, make, model all together. Because you think about it, that's probably what you might want to see in a dropdown, or at least the make dash model. So I click on this. What do we have here? Oh, a 3 series.
Yeah, that might be a good place to do a drop columns in the items property of that, where you could just drop all the columns that you don't want associated in there. You know.
Okay. What else can we go? Allow multiple selections. So let's see what that looks like. I think what I might do for this car data is let's do a distinct. Have you ever used distinct before, Kurt?
Yeah, we did. We just did a PPC video on that.
That's right.
Actually.
I think that was yesterday's session, right? How to use distinct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do that. There's the car data. What field do we want? I want the model. Car model. There we go. Car model. Okay, now that should work. I'll take out that space.
Might want to sort it too, right?
Yeah. Now, when distinct gets a hold of a data source, it's going to create a single column table, and it's going to be different than the underlying data. It's going to create a single column, and it's going to give you a column called value.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm right here.
Of course you are.
Well, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it's result. In some cases, sometimes it's value. All right, let's see what this looks like. What is going on?
Give you a choice.
Know what I needed to,
all the value.
What I need to do over here on fields. We don't have fields. All we have is value.
Yeah.
See that? Mm-hmm. There we go. Wow, it's only a few.
Yep. And I guess that's what I was trying to express when one of the viewers was asking about, 800 more than 800 items. My first instinct is to, hey, can I get rid of any kind of duplicates by using the distinct function? Perhaps that use case it requires all 800 to be in there, but oftentimes you can get away with that if you got duplicates in there,
Yeah, and Data's Key brings up a good point. If you wanted to, let's say, filter out stuff even before it gets to Power Apps, if you look at this, the data source that I picked, it allowed me to look at the views. Now, because I'm doing all this distinct stuff, I don't have the listing of all the views. You can create a view in Dataverse. You saw that like a few minutes ago, it says active, inactive. So there's some out-of-the-box views that Dataverse creates for you. And you could create your own, but you could create like a filter on the Dataverse side and then tie into that particular view. So that's a good point, Kendall. Very good. So again, what I want to do, okay, add multiple selections. So let's see what the multiple selection looks like. Okay, I want an A4 and I want a Civic. Okay, that's nice. Now with a regular combo box, it just looks is like colored and you can only see so many. But because it's nice and small, it's not taking up more room than necessary. If we pick several, we should be able to see quite a few here. In fact, we select them all. It almost has them all there,
And how would you process this in comparison to how would you consume the selected items? How would you use them in another place? How would you get to them?
I got you. Let's go with a list box here.
Okay.
Oh, isn't that ugly now that we've been dealing with the modern controls? We got this little list box. You could use a gallery too. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this combo box for the items. Wherever the combo box, I'm going to say selected items.
Bam. Very nice.
Look at that. You can display them like that. So if I go in here and I say, nope, I don't want all these. I just want 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't that cool?
Very nice.
It's like a little collection there, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to take that out. Now, let's look at the events. We have on change, and that's it.
That's it.
So if it changes, that will fire. All right. Let's go in here and see what others we have. Oh, this is probably the best of the modern controls, the date picker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It is
so much better.
wonderful compared to the old one.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times, if you had selected the, this is sort of funny. In order to get at the classic themes, because I enabled the classic themes, right? You have to zoom out in order to see the themes. Where are the themes at? Or did I probably turned it off. Oh, let's just keep classic themes. Okay. So here's theme. Those are the modern themes. Where's my themes at? Maybe this is a bug because it should always be up here. You got background color? No. Yeah. So what I was going to show you is if you went with the default and you got this blue color, there's no property to change this color here in the classic date picker control. And people they want to pull out their hair, because they're not using the classic themes. And they got this blue color. Now, if you pick the one that I suggested, the light, it's sort of like a gray color. So hopefully that doesn't clash. But look at the modern. Okay, we don't have a big bar of a color showing them. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's really nice. Oh, if I want to go to January, well, let's say I want to go to July. Here, I got to click on this several times to get that back to July. Here, I just click on July. Isn't that nice? Yeah. And Kendall brings up a good point. I wish you can select more than one date in the date picker. Yeah. So yeah, if you're I know from this trip I've stayed in a lot of hotels, is hey, select your arrival and your checkout. So I hit 19. Oh, it disappears. If you go to like Expedia or a hotel website, the first thing you click on is your check-in date, and then it still stays there, and then you pick another one, and then it shows this in a different color. It's like, okay, you're going to check out on the 23rd. Now how do you get around with that with Power Apps? You have a check-in date, and then you've got a checkout date. That's 2 separate controls. So you can still accomplish that interface, but that's a good point. Is why can't you have multiple? So I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to assume by what Kendall said there, data is key, that it's not possible. But let's go see if multiple selections is there. And of course, everything is really small because I need to zoom in. And I do not see allow multiple selections. Okay. We have an on change event. Is editable. Okay. Placeholder, select a date. I do see a question here. If we publish an app using mono controls, those will work normally to everyone. They should. I don't know that you'd want to use modern controls right now for production. And this came up last week. Somebody actually said, that's great for learning and knowing what's coming up, but don't, because if something's an experimental feature or a preview, if it's a preview feature, they're letting you know, hey, you can look at these and work with these, but don't use them for production. Now, if I publish this, could somebody look at it and use it? Probably. But they don't want to be on the, Microsoft doesn't want to be on the line for a preview feature that isn't fully baked, and you deploy it in some production environment that, is really important. So just thought I'd mention that. So it looks like there are a lot of the properties that we're used to with the classic one. And the big thing that you're getting by using this modern control, it just looks so much better. And I think your users will be much happier. So if I go in here, this is really awful. Okay. So if I say, no, December 1st. Okay, cool. December 1st. Look at the date. It did not change it. You almost have to train the users. And Kurt, can we count on users being like really smart just to sort of figure it out, or do you have to just assume the lowest common denominator with users?
Yeah,
I've actually had people say it when I select a date. Okay, there we go. I didn't change it, even though there's an okay and cancel down there. Maybe 30% of users don't even notice this and won't click on it.
Even though 70% of them use SharePoint.
Yeah. Data's King says, assume the worst for users. Yeah. So if you've got 100 users, well, think about that. What's you got the average bears, which we've talked about before, especially in the accelerator. We talk about that quite a bit. And then you've got some people that, maybe this is the first time they've used computers. You can't make any assumptions.
We call them users.
Oh, have you ever heard the term user error?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a user error. Oh, well, what's a user? Oh, you're the user and you don't know how to use the app. That's the user error.
And these days, we can say average bear, and then we have users that back in the old days, we used to say different words for that. But yeah, you gotta assume they're going to just go out there and start pounding keys and doing stuff. And yeah, it's hard.
So I'm going to go and let's see what other controls we have. But I really like the date picker control. It's very nice. I almost wish that they would have built in thing for a time and not use military time. You guys ever used a form and it's a date time, and they're wanting you to pick 0 through 24, for military time. And some countries do use military time, but and if you're from the military, you're completely fine with military time. But for us mere mortals, we work with the AM PM, right? So then we got the drop down. Okay. So there's the classic drop down compared to the modern one. So it looks nicer. Yeah.
Way nicer. Yeah.
All right, let's see what the other controls we have. So this is probably going to be very similar to the combo box. Now you can't have multiple selections in a drop down that you have with a combo box. Mm-hmm. You can't just go in there and search. Now you can set up a combo box to search. Yeah, see, it says allow searching. You can turn that on and off. I should probably increase.
Yeah,
to 150 there. Okay. So you don't have searching, you don't have allow multiple selections with a drop down, and for most of the time I don't need those features. So a lot of times I'm using the drop down.
Now here's a good question, Derek. Can we do a default value on those? On the
it should be
blank,
Okay, so let's look at this. So it's got a hard-coded literal table listing the values. The fields, I'm sure it's going to be value. Yeah. We can make it required. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, if I had a save button here, what is it going to do? It knows that a save button was clicked on. I'm wondering how that sort of interacts. So I'm going to click back on that. So we have required yes or no. Now I don't remember that being on any of the other controls. If I click on the combo box, I don't see required. What's up with that? Yeah, there's no required on combo box, but there is on a drop down. I find that a little strange. And I don't remember, well, checkbox, you can't make that a required because what if it's unchecked, and then question, could it be that modern controls, they're not available for all powerless environments? I would probably say yes. So I used to work for the state of Florida government entity, and whether you're the state or federal or whatever levels you have in other countries, there is a commercial tenant, which is what we're dealing with here. Probably most of us are working in a commercial tenant. But then you have what's called a government tenant. And then you've got even a step beyond government. I think it's more for like Department of Defense, military institutions, where it needs to be extra secure. So those government tenants are a few months behind the commercial releases because it needs to be, let's say, more tested or more secure. They need to add more features to it, that type of thing. So that could be true. And there's a possibility that an administrator or the person that handles all the governance for your tenant, for your Power Platform, maybe there's a checkbox or toggle to turn modern controls off or new features off. That's a possibility as well. I haven't gone in and looked, but it's a possibility. Okay, so lots of European countries use European time, okay, or military time. Okay, very good. So the drop down, and then Kurt, you're asking about the default. I do not see the default.
Yeah, that's disturbing because if you're bringing this into, if you're bringing it in, this screen may be in edit mode, so you would want to have the items that are already currently in your table.
Now, Kurt, we do have default selected items. Okay. So this is a little weird. So we got item 1, item 2 to item 3. So if I did something like this, and I say default selected items, okay, and I put a square bracket in here, isn't that interesting? It just give me the item 2. So is there a thing in here that allows multiple selections for the drop down? That would be an interesting. So let's go over to the A's. Allow? No. Now, last week we worked with the tab control. So where's the tab list? It's called the tab list control. And I really like this control, but we had a little bit of a problem getting a default item like whatever selected to be selected for using it as a menu. And so I believe Elvis has found us a workaround or a way to do that. And I need to solidify that more and work through a few examples before I present it to you guys. But yeah, this tab control does not have default. It has default selected items. Now, even though it says default selected items, it gives you the idea that multiple, it doesn't make any sense for a tab control. Doesn't make any sense for a drop down. But maybe they're trying to have a common property name, both for something like a combo box where you could have multiple items selected and the ones that you can only have one selected. And so that's always going to be the thing that's used here. Because if I go in here and say item 2 and 3, like I did with the drop down list. Okay, let's try that. See what it did? It didn't select both of them. It just selected the first one. Now, if I said 3 and then 1, What does it do? So it's only taking the first one.
So it should be default selected item. It's very
It should be.
inconsistent. Very inconsistent.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the classic combo box, let's see how confusing this gets. Okay. Default.
And
Or default selected items. Which one do you use? Well, in my mind, what I do as I'm trying to recall when I work with, I don't work with combo boxes all that often. I usually use drop down lists for the most part. There is a thing here, a toggle called allow multiple selections.
yeah.
So my rule of thumb is if that's on, then I'm going to use default selected items. If I turn it off, then I'm just going to use the default. So
Right,
maybe this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Maybe.
mean, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay. Maybe they're trying to standardize and maybe that confuses a lot of people. So they're like, well, let's just make everything have default selected items, and if it only accepts one, we'll just take the first one. That's what I'm thinking. So tell me what you were thinking, Kurt.
Well, to me, default means the item that's going to be sitting up there in view in the view window there. Okay, in the text box part, the input box. The selected items would be the items when you click the chevron, and all the items that are highlighted. You would have all the highlighted items in the chevron. To me, that would be what that would mean. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
But maybe I'm just a user, so maybe they're just. It just seems less intuitive, right? Default means it's just like in a text input box. Your default is going to be the value before the user touches it, right? And then the text is after. So if you're going to be consistent, the default would be before the user touches it, you're going to have a value sitting up there. It could be blank or it could have a value in there. And then you would have the selected items would be the items that are selected before a user touches it.
It's not consistent all the way through, right? So that it works that way with text boxes or text inputs, as they're called in Power Apps.
Yeah.
But if you look at a gallery, okay, the default is the record that you want to have selected within the gallery, right? Now. I know, Kurt, you haven't. I've told you forms aren't the greatest. So, and I don't think you've worked much with forms, but an edit form control has, I believe, a default, and then it's got an item property, which the item property is used how you're used to default with the text entry. So it's not consistent all the way through, but I wanted to can the advanced settings for the default selected item. So what we were just talking about was these drop down. And you're talking about advanced. And a lot of times I do look at advanced. So there's default and the default selected items. Okay, well, that's the combo box. I was thinking of this. So we've got, default selected item, and there's no default. Okay, same thing for this tab. We do have default selected items. And if you want the full list of your properties, all of them are going to be here, at least the ones that you can set. Okay. Now, if you think about a text input control, there is a property called value, and the value property is whatever the user entered. Okay. You won't find that property here, but any property that you can set on the properties and the advanced, they're all going to be here as well. So Jan says, I am the admin. So I was talking about like if the admin turned things off. So if you let me try to zoom out here a little bit. You go into this sprocket up here, and I'm going to make myself smaller. I click on the sprocket, go to Admin Center, and I'm going to show you something whenever this comes up. I'll go into Environments, and let's go look at. I'm going to go look for mine. There's my environment. Okay. Okay. So you're not a government tenant, and you're West Europe based. Okay. So I can't, so sometimes they do release things in some regions before others. I don't know if they're just trying to get feedback, and if they release it to the world and it's not fully baked, then they're like, oh man, everybody's complaining. Rather than if they just release it to one region at a time, they've got a little bit of a chance to fix things before they come out. But what I would recommend, if I had the same question that you did, was like, hey, everybody else has this feature and I don't. I might go into, I think it's called features, if I'm not mistaken. So here's all the details here. If I go into, now they change, I think they've changed this a little bit since I've been in here. Now settings, okay, there we go, settings. And you go into product, look at features, okay? Look at all this stuff. AI builder, yeah, I want the AI builder in there. Embedded content, Power BI builds, sure. Turn on Bing Maps. Like, why is this stuff turned off? You know, now I didn't have to turn on anything to get these model controls except in the properties of the project. So that is something you definitely, did you look there first? So now we covered this last week, go into properties, and if you don't see this, so if you see it, turn it on, and that's what the issue is. Now, if you don't see this, I didn't do anything to make that thing turned on, okay? But go through here and look at stuff, okay? Yeah, so some of these things, single table search option. There's all kinds of stuff that you might want to turn on here or turn off. If you like if you guys ever seen the Power Apps ideas, like it tries to help you, like, oh, you brought over this control, you might want to do this or that. I don't like that. It's never been helpful to me, so I'd want to turn that off. Okay. Now I don't see anything about modern controls in here, unless I blew past it. You guys saw it and I didn't. Okay. So you can look around there. Also, if I go back to settings, you know what? I need to save before because I did make some changes that I want to save. So that save button is down here in the lower right corner. Okay. Okay, so that's saved. And then what I was going to show you some any additional things. Go up to settings. And you got behavior. Okay, so these are things you can turn on and on. Get self-help answers. I don't know if I want to use that or not. So you could look there, maybe do a Google search and see if something turns up. Maybe search on monitor controls and you know Europe or West Europe, and see if that's like a known thing that they haven't released it yet. I'll probably look there. Okay, so that was the drop-down control. Okay, so if you want to select a specific one, it's going to look, if there's more than one item, it's going to look at the first one. Okay, and I would agree, it's a little confusing there. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and so we've got that date picker drop down. Then there's the form control. Now what I'm going to do is, let's see, how are we doing on time? Okay, so what I want to do is, so the next one that we should cover is the form, and I think I'd like to start from a blank screen here. Let me look at some things here I want to look at that you guys might be interested in checking out. So yeah.
Power Apps has been the key ingredient for the hundreds of people that we've helped dominate in their organization. With this one skill, you're able to simplify processes for countless tasks like tracking leads, doing inspections, logging attendance, booking desks in a shared office, generating reports, tracking employee performance, and the list goes on. If you have a project that you need to get done, or you're an IT professional or a developer, or if you plan to eventually do some freelancing work with Microsoft Power Apps, I am literally the only person you need to accomplish your goals. Spreadsheets and all the old ways of doing things are becoming redundant, and the people who are able to build Power Apps are going to accelerate their professional career so much faster than everyone else who's okay being average. I have over 20 years experience as a software developer and have been working in Power Apps for over 3 years. We have lots of course material for you, but if you're eager to accelerate your expertise with Power Apps at a much faster pace and want to work directly with me, this is what me and my team are going to do for you. Number one, we're going to figure out exactly what projects and skills you're working on and the overall end goal. Number two, we're going to get clear on exactly what data sources are needed for your projects. If it's a particular project with a deadline, we're going to work with you to make sure that you meet that deadline. And number four, we're going to work with you to make sure that you master the platform. So not only can you finish any projects that you're currently working on, but the projects that come up in the future. And you might want to take those skills and become a freelancer in the future. If that sounds like something that you're interested in and you want to expedite the process of being able to build apps that can literally be used for years, and you want to be an important asset to your organization and any future companies you work for, click the button below and we can have a 15-minute chat about what you're needing and how we can help.
All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So the next control to look at is the form control. And Kurt and I, we actually explored the form control in some of our personal pocket coaching stuff. And what we need to do is a deep dive on this form control. Because to be honest, guys, this form control looks a lot better, less clunky than the classic. Now, if you bring over the form, what you'll notice, okay, is you can hook up to a data source. So in this case, I've got car data with an S on the end. Okay, now I could bring over some more fields here, and I just want to show you what we're working with. Okay, so we got some more fields in there. Doesn't that look so much nicer than the classic one? Of course, you don't see anything here right now, right? If you set this up to be a new record instead of an edit, because we haven't told it what record we want to edit. Look at this, and you click in it. Okay, you see a little green, thin green line there. This looks a lot better, in my opinion, than the form control. So, Kurt and I, we're going to take a second look at the form control because, to be quite honest, we're not very fond of the classic form control. And what we do instead is we bring over individual controls. Oh, look at it, it's responsive. Isn't that nice? That's pretty cool. And I mean, you could tell it's so many columns. Okay. So Kurt and I need to do more of a deep dive with this form control. Now I don't like how it, yeah, the second row, like it leaves this out. So I don't know what I think about that. See, that's what would make me sort of not use a form control. I want it to be consistent all the way through, and maybe 2 or 3 columns would probably be more realistic. You know, perhaps what you might have is a list box or a gallery. You select the record you want to edit, and it would show up here. Okay. In fact, if we go over, because we selected we selected multiples. And the name of this combo box, I'm going to select and copy the name of that. Then go over to this form because I want to see some data in here just to sort of show you guys perhaps what this is all about. And looking over the properties of the form. Now you notice in the modern, we just have a form control. If you go over to the classic, look at what you got. You got a display form, and then you have an edit form. And I don't think they were maybe they didn't think ahead on this or something, but an edit form can make a display form, like a read only, So if you use the display form and then you change your mind, oh, I want this to be editable, well, now you got to use a different screen. I always like to use the same screen for a new record. If I'm wanting to edit an existing record, I'm just wanting to view a record. Okay. And if you ever change your mind, it's like, oh, now I got to rip that out and put in an edit form. So just sort of keep that in mind if you're still using the classic form control. So I think they got the hint here that maybe nobody's using the view control. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, get rid of that menu, go over to advanced, and look at this, guys. We've got on failure, on reset, on success. Okay, this is looking good. The data source, default mode. Now, boom, we have an item, which is consistent with the classic one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say selected. What is selected in that combo box? And because that combo box allows multiple selections, it's like, no, you can't use this. Okay. In fact, if I hover over the red squiggly, it's going to say invalid formula, expected of value compatible with data source. Okay. So what I'm going to say is selected items instead. Now it's not going to like this because there's more than one item there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning and I'm going to say, well, just give me the first one. Okay. And at the end, so we've got that. So the first one that's selected out of that, I'm expecting that. So it's got a record. What's this giving me now? Okay. So I guess the data types between the two, let me go find that other screen. The data source, it was car data, but we did the distinct on it, right? So let's not even mess with that. Let's go to this one. And what we could do is, I don't think we've got a list control. Over here, we've got a list box. Okay. And here we could set this up car data. Okay. And instead of color, we'll say model. Okay. And then, so this is list box 2. Because I use distinct on that combo box, that's what the issue is. Okay. So I'm going to say list box. And I think we might have selected. Now we're back. So selected. It probably has multiple. Turn that off. Still does.
What's going on?
Oh, I'm just doing a little bit of an overview of the form control. Now we need to go back and do more of a deep dive.
Okay.
On this. If I select one guy, I just wanted them to see how the form looks when it's being used here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So make sure the form is. Now you look, we still have these data cards in here, right? And this form control has an item. Okay. Now if I said, this is going to be interesting. Let's do a modern button. And in this button, we'll say, where's this format? Will the functions that we're used to still work with the modern controls? I guess that's probably the big question, right? So on select, we could say edit form, because I set up this form to be a new type of thing. Yeah, form 1 as an only form. So if I click on it, there we go. Okay, so now if I click on these, you notice that the new values and click in there, it's using that green. So it looks a little more sleek. Do you like the new form control? Are you thinking about using forms, Kurt?
I do like the way it looks. I think that's cool, but no.
Yeah.
I just don't like those data cards, and maybe I should just get more abrasive of those data cards, because I think you could do a lot more than just what we're seeing right there with them.
Absolutely. I think the main question everybody should be asking themselves right now is, really, what video should I watch next?
For some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, gotta hurry, click one of them, otherwise YouTube's gonna autoplay some other video. But you probably don't want